We're live on YouTube. Hey everyone, happy Friday. And we're live on YouTube.
Can I repost a live stream?
Happy Friday. I think so. And we're live on YouTube.
Let's see if I can get some of my live stream. Some of my people to watch too.
Is there like an anti-echo thing you can enable with that? YouTube. Coming
see if I can get some of the live stream. Some of my people to watch too.
Is there like an anti-echo thing you can enable with that? YouTube. Coming
see if I can get some of the live stream. Some of my people to watch too.
Is there like an
I don't know
anti-echo
what's
thing
that.
you
I
can
have
enable
pretty
with
limited settings on Android here.
Coming
See if I can get some of the
through.
live stream. Some of my people to watch too.
Is there
It's
like
not
an
I don't know.
anti-echo
What's
feature
that?
you
I
can
have
enable
pretty
with that?
limited settings on Android here.
Coming
See if I can get
through.
some of the live stream. Some of my people to watch too.
Is
All
there
right,
like an
I don't know.
anti-echo
What's
feature
that?
you
I
can
want
enable?
pretty
I'm gonna hit
limited
the
settings on
note
Android.
right here for a second. Oh wait, sorry.
I don't know. What's that? I
I'm
want
gonna
pretty
hit
limited
let me
settings on
note
Android.
right close something here. All right. I think that might have been a self-inflicted wound. I didn't realize I had the tab open and other things. I might have been double hearing everything, but
Okay,
let's try it now. So
that's a nice thumbnail.
yeah, I can't hear the double thing anymore, so I think that was just me tripping myself out. So for anyone, hi Studios.
I can share the link. I don't think I can repost it while it's live
Yeah, here I'll
on
share it.
Odyssey.
I'll share it with you. You're sharing the Odyssey one, right?
I'm looking at Odyssey right now.
I'll share it with you right here in your.
Or I can just
chat.
retweet you if you're posting about it as well.
Yeah, you can. I did. I had a tweet about it, but let me check.
All right.
Let's see. One time. Hey, one time.
One time.
He's in the Odyssey chat. Yeah, hopefully all the sound thing is pretty well resolved. The benefit of the setup that I'm using is the audio that's not my any audio that's not my voice is literally the exact same feed as goes into my headphones. So whatever I hear goes out to that's not me talking goes out to everyone.
Yeah.
And so it's pretty easy to catch problems. Like whatever I'm hearing is going out. Except in this case where I accidentally had another tab open and then that was like everyone could hear that kind of thing. And that was kind of annoying. But
Yeah, but we figured it out.
5 people YouTube, 5 few people in Odyssey. It's probably a good time to, I guess, roll the intro credits and get going. What do you think, guys, in Z Live chat? Yeah, as always,
That's
guys.
an hour show.
Yeah, we could do an hour. We can, if we run out of stuff to talk about before the hour's up, we can cut it short. I do have in exactly 1 hour from now another podcast to do. So it's got to be, we can't go too long. That's the only limitation.
Right.
All right.
Yeah, I'm just posting my own tweet about it.
All right. Well, while you're doing that, I'll probably just run the intro graphic and then, yeah, we'll get more into it. So, hey everyone, have a happy Friday. I'm joined by the one and only Matt Harrington, also known as The Nudge. How's it going, man?
Hey, it's good to be on the show.
Yeah, likewise, good to have you on. Yeah, so as per usual, don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe, all the stuff. cointr.ee/the desert links right there on the page there. You go there, you leave live super chat. You can do that in Odyssey too. Only in library credits right now. I haven't hooked up any kind of fiat type stuff because I haven't quite got it figured out how to make that go straight to crypto. But soon, hopefully. But yeah, so if I'm ignoring you in the live chat too long, go to CoinTree and throw me something, and I'm compelled by the power of monies to pay attention to you. So, with that being said, let's just get straight on into this stuff. So, Kraken is basically designed to dissolve their. Let me actually get the proper headline, so I don't, Kraken shuts down global headquarters because San Francisco is not safe. Kraken CEO Jesse Powell announced that he has made the decision to close Kraken's global headquarters in San Francisco because of a variety of factors, but basically employees getting harassed, assaulted, robbed, etc. Just the ongoing craziness that is the former tech center, I guess, of the U.S. So, what's your hot take?
It's not surprising to me. When I was visiting San Francisco last, probably about 5 years ago, just walking down the streets, you could see tent cities and needles and poop in the streets and everything. And it's very well known for having these problems, and they're never really addressed. They just kind of throw money at, I guess, homeless services to try to clean up the streets. And surprisingly, the government's not very good at actually solving them. So
Surprisingly enough,
that combined with more people working from home and there being less people in the street means that you get more brazen acts of crime, and the few people that unfortunately are still going into the office have to feel the brunt of it.
yeah, it's pretty crazy. Like, so first off, maybe I'm a little, I wouldn't say old school, maybe a little new school, but I don't understand how anyone has offices anymore for anything that doesn't require physical collaboration. Like, I get co-working spaces, I get like a
Right.
conference room, like, oh, let's all get together here and like do a thing real quick. But just the fact that you just go to a spot and are just there with everyone when you have a completely online business, especially if it's an online digital currency, decentralized tech kind of business. That's a little weird to me. And so the fact that
Well, I mean,
Kraken, yeah.
there was news during 2020 and then last year about a lot
Mm-hmm.
of these big corporate offices giving up their office space, and one of
Mm-hmm.
them in particular didn't even move in.
Mm-hmm.
REI Co-op in August of 20
Mm-hmm.
was planning to move into a brand new campus with an 8-acre campus in Bellevue, Washington, and they never moved in because they didn't have the people to actually occupy the space. So they'll even spend millions of dollars to build a custom facility and never actually get to fill it.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy to me that like all the overhead. Like, where do you work with all this overhead? Like, how do you decide that that's a good idea unless you have a tangible like ROI for doing that? It's like it's this weird, must be this weird idea that like unsupervised workers will just not produce. And that is, I guess, true to a certain extent, right? If you don't make sure you get your results, you won't get your results. But physically putting someone in a physical location is not like if that's the only way you can watch people, you just like walk by their desk and you can't just say like what are your key performance indicators? How's that going on? Like I kind of suck at managing.
Well, I mean, you're also dealing with a lot of boomer leadership that is
Mm-hmm.
going with these antiquated ideas of what an office should be and how business needs to
Mm-hmm.
work. And they don't necessarily care if it's not efficient, but it's just what they know. And especially if they can see people and kind of micromanage them, that's something that they enjoy.
Yeah, and
But a lot of
that's
these businesses that continue that also kind of fall by the wayside because they can't compete over time.
mm-hmm. It's surprising to me that in the crypto world, which is like the decentralized finance world, the decentralized tech world, where like anyone in their basement can like run a node or a miner or whatever the hell. That's like the origins of crypto. That world it took people being like robbed and attacked like enough that they're like, we're gonna stop this giant overhead operation and just get rid of our headquarters. But it's also kind of interesting, like a changing of the guard, because all the tech giants are from San Francisco or that area, the Bay Area, is like the tech giant area, and now those kinds of companies are like the Googles and the Amazons and the YouTubes and all those kinds of ones that are, a lot of them, at the forefront of online censorship and stuff like that. And the decentralized world is probably not going to be a San Francisco based world, if you ask me.
Yeah, and I mean, I thought way before the whole remote working thing had come about that
Mm-hmm.
it made more sense to not have these gigantic hubs where it's really expensive to live and the quality of life is just being decimated year after year.
Mm-hmm.
And that, I mean, at least in the US, you could have smaller cities, second or third tier cities that could support the kind of lifestyle that people need, and they don't necessarily have to be all concentrated in one place. And it is nice that that's coming to happen now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just wonder, what are the productivity gains you can get by kind of ridding this thing. And so, for example, I believe Binance was one of the first ones to go fully remote. Um, and as far as like, that's the thing, is like, as far as I've been in crypto, I've been earning crypto like for my primary income for almost 7 years. And never in there has there been a physical component to any of that. It's all been, oh, I work for this, I write for these guys, or I run that org there, I do this other thing. And there have been like online Zoom meeting type things, but that's
Yeah.
kind of the extent of it. Some people I didn't, I even worked with people whose names I didn't really even know. They're just by some pseudonym or something. And I'm like, oh, hey, dude, nice to see you in like person at this conference now. Like, I had no idea. And it blows me away that it takes like literal zombie land in San Francisco to get Kraken to finally say they're like giving up.
Yeah, I mean, it's something that is long overdue, and it just becomes a point where you look at an empty office and you look at the people that are left over that are starting to complain about it, and you can't really justify keeping this place open. And even just the open work, what is it, the open plan that a lot of the offices have transferred to. There were studies that came
Mm-hmm.
out that said it was actually less productive than some of the more cubicle or office based work
Mm-hmm.
setups that they had before because it was more distracting.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems like, I don't know, it's kind of interesting trying to find what's productive. And I mean that in that producing actual results is what the metric should be, how you get paid, and not necessarily the amount of hours that you put towards something. I think that's going to be a major shift towards goal-based compensation.
Yeah, crypto being at the forefront of this kind of makes sense because anyone in the world can run infrastructure for any actual crypto system, and it's open participation. Anyone can write code. No one needs to know anyone's name to do that. Anyone can donate, etc., etc. And it's like the old model of you need to have a workforce that look, everyone comes into it. Just to have that geographical proximity even is just like horrendously outdated, which is probably a good segue to this next story,
Right.
which is, it's not even a story I thought about, to be honest, because it's like, what world were they living in? But Shopify Bitcoin payments integration triggers legal questions from the community. Attorney Kevin Thompson thinks that the event will make regulators frustrated, leading to the creation of reporting requirements for Shopify. So, following the announced integration of the payment app Strike, which is that Jack Mahler's outfit that allegedly does like Lightning and stuff, but it's a custodial KYC system. Strike with
Right.
the e-commerce platform Shopify to accept Bitcoin through the Lightning Network, or rather for their centralized rails. But let's not get off topic here. Crypto community raised concerns over the legal implications of the move. Now, and so crypto researcher Matt Alborg believes that this event is a very significant development for Bitcoin as it allows the offloading of Bitcoin without the need to go through the know your customer process. Now, what I want to know from these people is where the hell have you been? Like, I mean, I received and then spent my first crypto in 2013. That's almost a decade ago, right? It's a long time ago. People have been, again, admittedly, not many, like you and I and like 5 other people maybe, but like enough people have been using crypto to buy things forever, like for years and years and years. And oh, well, Shopify lets you do it. It's like, what? Like, why is this a
It's
news?
head of research at
Yeah.
BitRefill.
Yeah. Um, but like for example, Overstock accepted. I don't know if they still do. They kind of like moved that back after Patrick Byrne kind of stepped away. But Overstock famously was one of the first to take crypto payments. It took quite a few. Coin Payments is a payment processor that works for countless merchants all around the world that to take crypto payments. There's a bunch of others. It's a booming industry. I have bought so many things through so many different sites with so many different crypto processors. I have never gone through any kind of a KYC kind of a thing in order to use the money because that is absolutely insane. And it's to just think that like, well, why you can't spend crypto without KYC. The fact that crypto people supposedly are like, first off, that they were just like blown away that this is a big step. It's not a big step. This is what we've been doing the entire time. And then also to
I mean,
think that, yeah,
well, Shopify is a major platform
yeah,
for sales online, so that spotlight is important.
mm-hmm,
There's definitely plenty of precedent with other shops and businesses that have been accepting crypto.
mm-hmm,
Expedia began accepting Bitcoin for hotels in 2014, and they did that until 2018.
mm-hmm,
So um, that that's another example of one of the pioneers, I guess, in
mm-hmm.
accepting it before it was really that popular, I guess, or at least compared to now.
Yeah, and there
Um,
have never been implications of that whatsoever. And like legal implications, like you have to identify. And you think about that with like, unfortunately, the fiat world has a lot of KYC stuff to it. Like you need to give your ID to open your bank account and to get a
yeah,
credit card, all that kind of stuff. But once you do it, it just like the card works or it doesn't. Like how often have people uh, spent like some with someone else's card? Like oh, like I'm gonna go pay a parking ticket, but I can't afford it. Can I use my parents' card or whatever to do it? Or like like there is no the ability to spend your fiat is typically KYC'd, but the merchant does not KYC you really. They just take they're not a like a coffee shop is not a money services business. They don't transmit money. They just take your money. They don't need to know who you are. They don't need to do whatever. The choke point KYC choke point of that is the bank, but then they can also take cash, which is not KYC. It makes no sense that people are first off just like surprised at this stuff, but also that you would try to give more onerous financial regulations on the crypto world than the regular fiat world.
right. Well, I think the complications with businesses accepting crypto are more so from the accounting side of it and not from actually
Mm-hmm.
knowing who the customer is. And I believe you spoke to someone a while ago about about KYC regulations for wallets.
Mm-hmm.
And I think also the definition for what meets the government's requirements for adequate KYC is not as severe as what some of us are thinking it's going to
Mm-hmm.
be. And definitely, it's better to not have KYC. But um, some I don't think it's going to be crazy to the point that it would make it it would make it so difficult that no one would even bother. And I think there's enough
Mhm.
people interested in spending crypto now that it's going to be difficult to actually reverse that.
Yeah, I do think that as well. But just also um, the fact that you don't need necessarily you don't need to KYC with merchants in order to spend your fiat, and you do need to KYC to get your bank account and your card, but not even in every case. So, for example, right now you can go in the U.S. You can go into just about any supermarket or whatever, pay cash for a prepaid Visa debit card, or and no ID, and you can just spend that anywhere online. You can add
Yeah.
your you can add like a fake
They can
name
just
or whatever.
enter a name on there.
Yeah, they don't really care. You just can do that. You can
Yeah.
spend online. So that's basically like cash. It's just that, there's small amounts and there's like
Hmm.
prepaid on and some merchant types like won't take it for that. Like, so for example, I think hotels don't like to take that for like incidentals. They don't tend to like to have a prepaid like ID less card. They tend to like in case you
Yeah,
run
you
up and
still
lose
have
your
to
debit.
provide a card to check into these hotels.
Uh-huh.
Even if you're paying with crypto, you have to have
Mm-hmm.
something on file, which is
Yeah,
nice when they put a $250 hold on your card for a week or a few days.
it's terrible.
Uh, so far, that's been just in the US, though. Like everywhere else I've been, I can either pay in advance or pay in cash, and they don't ask for any kind of deposit.
Um, I have noticed some booking sites. I remember Cheap Air, and I've heard some other people. I think maybe it was Mark Falzon said it, but that basically the site had like a card for had like they came with a card for incidentals kind of thing. So like I remember when I used Cheap Air a few times to book accommodation, I did not have to do an extra card for incidentals because that was kind of like part of what they arranged. But the point remains that making everyone with crypto KYC to spend their money is more onerous than whatever's on fiat right now. And just the envelope's being pushed constantly of this, and also like this legal speculation. Like, I don't know where this is coming from because there have been legally operating businesses in the U.S. that have not KYC'd their customers who have taken crypto for half decade or more, and just because Shopify is like a big brand, that now people are like, oh, well, I don't know, like I don't know how this is gonna turn out. Like it's a little bit strange to me, but anyway, I hope nothing comes of it. I hope it stuff stays the way it is because the way it is makes sense.
Right.
And that's kind of a. I'm gonna jump to the um, CBDC one because that's kind of flowing right into this thing. The South African Reserve Bank. So South Africa finishes technical POC for wholesale CBDC sales settlement system. The South African Reserve Bank stated further work would be undertaken to study the findings of the project and used to inform policy and regulatory responses to DLT and CBDCs. Yada yada yada. Take a step further. They've taken a step further to implementing a CBDC, which everyone seems to be talking about implementing central bank digital currencies. The thing is, I haven't really heard much as far as like concrete steps. Like this is going to happen. It's been rumblings of this for years. I think that's a great advantage of the crypto world is that this giant leeway, but at some point, some kind of thing of this type is kind of coming. So, first, do you have any specific takes on CBDCs? And yeah, just do you think they're really going to be a thing sooner rather than later, or do you think it's going to be kind of down the road?
I mean, I'll pull this directly from the Visa website,
Mm-hmm.
the blog that they posted in January of this year. The majority of central banks are reportedly exploring CBDC. Uh, what makes this technology so intriguing? So I think it's definitely a useful technology for them to make up for some of the inefficiencies of the old banking systems, especially if you're looking at something like ACH in the US and just how slow and antiquated it is compared to
Mm-hmm.
modern payments. And there's definitely an advantage to sending digital payments to kind of balance the ledger between banks. And obviously, cash is expensive to ship.
Mm-hmm.
So I see them integrating that in certain ways. Um, Obviously, there's concerns about privacy and ways that CBDCs could be used to track people's purchases, to provide temporary stimulus money that can only be spent in specific ways or for a certain period of time. That's definitely a concern.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I've speculated possibly even that digital currencies could be used to replace or downplay the role of national debt for the dollar and the euro and all these other currencies that have racked up enormous amounts
Mm-hmm.
of debt over the years. I feel like they might use that to kind of sidestep it and say this is the old system, and we have 30 trillion plus in debt here, and this is the new digital dollar, and
Mm-hmm.
perhaps they might even collectively agree to not recognize uh, the old the old debts and move forward.
Yeah, that would be pretty wild, to be honest. The thing that, I mean, the
My reasoning for that is just because of the collapse that would happen with the dollar losing its reserve status,
mm-hmm.
not just for the U.S. but for the world. And so I think they realize how much that they rely on that, and they know that they can't continue printing money forever and not have
Mm-hmm.
consequences. People are starting to get upset about inflation. It's been running
Just
rampant,
starting.
and they've got to find an exit, and this might be a solution for them.
Yeah, that makes sense. Um, if they print it from scratch, the there's going to be a significant like hiccup in switching gears to a new fiat system, though. It's like
Right.
I feel like everyone uses, let's just say, dollars, for example. Everyone uses dollars right now, kind of.
Yeah.
Not really me that much, but still sometimes, right? So everyone uses dollars. Uh, Crypto, one of the biggest hurdles is like, oh, why don't you take some Bitcoin here? Why don't you take some Dash there? Like, people are just like, nah, this is what everyone uses. I'm not really interested. I'm using this. And now, if you get rid of the dollar and just say, well, we got a new dollar, you're already knocking out that network effect that you had on the previous
Yeah.
dollar. So that kind of opens it up more to using alternative forms of money like cryptocurrency, like real crypto, not fake stuff. So I think that getting rid of the base currency to turning over the base currency would probably be too big of a risk for them to actually take. I think it's giving more of a payment rail update.
Yeah, it's definitely one of the theories that I've shared with people. I haven't heard a lot of other people supporting the idea. I thought maybe there might be a period of time where you could trade your dollars in for
Hmm.
digital dollars, and then they would basically phase out the use of cash.
Yeah.
Um, it's definitely a huge undertaking, and they're not very good at implementing anything fast. So it would be a challenge regardless. I do think that they would exist alongside each other for a number of years in the transition phase.
Yeah, that's for
Um,
sure.
but the goal is to have all transactions digital and trackable.
Yeah, and that's the now it's not only like the cash free whatever the hell, but the current banking system, uh, as terrible as it is, it does offer some glimmers of hope. Meaning, I don't know about hope for a future, but it does have some you know positives to it. Meaning, if you get a bank account and your bank is processing all your transactions, or your whoever the payment provider like Visa or whatever, uh, they ultimately are the ones to monitor and censor and shut you down. And the federal government doesn't do this directly. They do this indirectly. They have to be like, hey, let me see this guy's um, bank statements, whatever. Hey, shut down this guy's account. They have to put pressure on him or whatever. There's steps required. And so
Yeah.
part of the benefit of a CBDC from an actual positive point of view, right, is that it makes it so you don't have to like have all these inefficiencies in operating between banks and payment systems. It's like a unified efficient payment rail. The problem is then it's like a direct conduit to the Federal Reserve, where the Federal Reserve now, the Fed is going to be monitoring all your transactions of your personal wallet, of your personal money, and can just censor you at the source. So now that's pretty Orwellian at that point, and I'm sure that's what they kind of like about it, what governments like about it, but it's definitely not something I'd like about it. So I hope the crypto can move forward and get a good amount of adoption before CBDCs become anything seriously explored, because otherwise we could kind of be a little screwed.
Yeah, I mean, it's something that definitely needs to be explored more. Um,
Yeah. Well, I got a super chat here. It's a
cool.
little longer than can well, it barely fits, but it says, Anonymous says, "Thank you for your hard work. I'm 100% in crypto, and thanks to you, I've started living on Dash in the UK. Moving to the US in a few months, and will try to live 100% on Dash. Only thing I'm missing in the UK is a way to pay bills and get paid in crypto. We'll be documenting my Dash journey." Thank you very much, Anonymous. That's nice stuff. That's very good stuff to hear. Um, Especially, I kind of know more the lay of the land here in the US as far as what you can use, but um, I th- I'm pretty sure you can use Coinbase to get your whatever your direct deposit paycheck automatically land into Dash into your Coinbase account, and then so you could get paid entirely in Dash even if your employer doesn't let you. I don't think, kind of like BitPay. That was my
Yeah.
understanding. I've not tested this out yet because I don't have a bank
You mean
account in
Bitwage?
fiat. But what was that?
You mean Bitwage?
Yeah, well, Coinbase, I believe it was like October or something, had a thing where they would let you do that. Bitwage has been letting you do this with Bitcoin only for many years. They might have expanded to something else, but I'm pretty sure it's only Bitcoin. And the way you'd get it in a different crypto would be to link it. They had a way that you could link it with an Uphold account before. So if you had an Uphold account, you could get it. And then they removed the explicit link, so it was more post your Uphold address, your Uphold deposit to Dash address, it's a Bitcoin address, as the Bitcoin address. And so they would give you Bitcoin that would just land in your Uphold account and get converted automatically to Dash. But then you got, delays and extra fees and stuff on there, and just the extra annoying step. That's the way I understood it, because again, I haven't done this yet, but Coinbase should hopefully let you do it straight up. But I can't imagine they're the only ones. I know Strike, if you're into the maximalism stuff, will is already letting people do something like that, where you can just get paid entirely and just comes right out as Bitcoin in their account, on the other end. Now, have you tried any of those auto direct deposit kind of things for crypto yet?
Um, I I haven't. Since I started this trip doing
Mm-hmm.
travel on crypto, I've been getting paid directly in crypto if I was doing video editing or someone's tipping
Mm-hmm.
me for a video. So, um, and I haven't been working a full-time job since I started this. So,
Yeah.
it's something I've looked into, as well as I've looked into companies that pay directly, like Exodus, for example, pays Bitcoin to people that work for them. So
Mm-hmm.
that's definitely one of the first things I look for a job is if they already pay in crypto. It makes it a little bit easier.
Yeah. I mean, that's for sure. That's the way to go, and that's kind of what I did. I kind of at the end of 2015, I decided to stop taking fiat currency for payments, and then at that point, I'm just like, okay, now who? Now what? Now who will pay me? So I went to Cointelegraph, and then they paid Bitcoin, and then I don't remember turning down work explicitly because they didn't pay me in crypto ever. I think there might have been a couple times when when I got the feeling they didn't say, "All right, what's your bank?" I said, "I don't have one," and then it fell through. I think there was a couple times where I got the feeling that they weren't. But the easiest way, obviously, to get paid in crypto is to be in the crypto industry, which is bigger than ever,
Yeah.
thankfully. But there's other ways, I guess.
Well, broaching the subject in an interview is definitely not uncommon nowadays. I think if you were to say, "Hey, I want to get paid in Bitcoin," they might even agree
Mm-hmm.
with you that they want to get paid in Bitcoin too. So it really just depends on how small the company that you're working with is and how flexible they are with
Mm-hmm.
compensation. And I'm sure also with the worker shortage that they might also be open to work something out with you.
Yeah, I would probably think that they would these days, um, especially just how mainstream it really helps to be educated on this, like to know exactly what you can do, what they can do to do it. If they're like, oh, I'd like to pay Bitcoin, how do we do it? We don't have any Bitcoin. It's not like you're going to
Yeah.
convince the entire company to just buy a speculative asset and hang on to it and learn all that stuff just so they can pay your sorry ass. It's not going to happen that way. But if there are tools that let you like easily convert kind of things, I'm sure that that would really, help out.
Yeah. I mean, the other thing I've noticed is it's still they might be paying in crypto, but it's still denominated in fiat. So
Mm-hmm.
you kind of have to watch that as well because if they're not giving you a raise, you're actually losing money every year. So let's say
Yeah.
$50,000 in BTC the Exodus is paying right now. If they're not raising it 7, 8, 10%, however much inflation is now,
Mm-hmm.
I think at some point there's going to have to be a switch where it becomes denominated in crypto, so that you're actually protecting and getting the same value for your labor.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of where that has been the case. I think typically I think that it's only situations where the budget is the budget is entirely crypto that you could actually end up being paid in crypto. So, for example, in my lifetime, I do remember there were some websites that I could write for, some companies and stuff that would have a crypto denominated payment kind of a thing. But I do remember specifically, obviously, when I worked for Dash full time, I
Right.
our group obviously we had like a Dash budget, and that's just what we paid. And so our individual salaries were locked in at a Dash amount for like the cycle, for like the 3 month cycle, right? Basically for the quarter, and then we'd like renegotiate at the end of that. We'd be like, all right, it's just so we've kind of have that. And so in some cases it worked out really well because the price was doing crazy things. In other cases it's like, all right, well, this is your salary now. It's like it's on the way down,
Yeah.
and that's just kind of a risk. And now the Dash Incubator and the Dash Marketing Hub, which are two kind of bounty based organizations that just pay per task and stuff, those amounts get adjusted to loose fiat guidelines at some point. Like if it starts to become ridiculous, either in you're way overpaying for something or you're way underpaying for something, gets adjusted. But they are denominated in specific Dash amounts, and so as far as
Yeah,
that,
I've seen that.
like for example, when I think of whatever I get paid at any juncture in my life and whatever I have for money, I can't remember the last time I primarily thought of that in a fiat term. Like, oh, it's 40 grand here, or like 10 grand there. Like I've had to do the calculation backwards. It's just been like, I have like this much Bitcoin, this much Dash, this much whatever, and just that's kind of the way it is. And then I think that switch is easier to make than some people really, kind of want to realize.
Yeah, I mean, well, there's with the fluctuations in the prices in the last 6, 9 months, it's definitely
Mm-hmm.
you definitely have to make some mental adjustments as far as
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what 0.01 dash gets you now versus what it's closer to, I don't know, 0.03 now or something like that.
But also, I think that it's going to become less confusing, maybe, if because inflation is changing prices, which I know obviously in places like Venezuela has been the case for a long time. But in the US, I'm seeing prices change fast enough to where I don't know what things cost anymore. Like what's reasonable for like think about like $3-4 for like a latte is like a thing that's kind of constant. But now you start seeing like if you'd see 5 and 6, especially if it wasn't like a huge one like this, I'd be like, wow, this is a pricey area. But now that's a little bit more common. And then I remember when it was really rare. You have to go to a fancy place to see like a hamburger on the menu that's like over $10. Like, or you have to have like a fried egg on top or something, some extra thing that would push it over that limit. Now you, unless it's like a super sale day or something like that, you don't um, ever see it under 10. And it just my conception of like what is a fair price for goods and services in dollar is a little out of whack now because it's changed significantly enough over the last couple of years that now I just have to. It's not like, oh well, yeah, it's just a little bit more expensive. It's just like, really, that's what they're charging, and everyone is. It's like it's a little crazy.
It's definitely something that I started experiencing with the first country that I went to that had like
Mm-hmm.
hyperinflation in Lebanon.
Mm-hmm.
The prices, if there were prices on the shelves, they were changing. They changed within the short period of time that I was in the country of about 3 weeks,
Wow.
and it's something that you're aware of, and you start thinking about how much fiat you have on you and how much you actually want to bother changing. Like the
Mm-hmm.
dollar is strong in contrast to the Lebanese pound, but you don't. I mean, it's obviously there's the dollar's weak overall, but in comparison, it buys a lot there. And so you want to change as little amount of money as you can in cash to use if there's going to be a wild fluctuation. Um, Definitely incentivizing you to spend what you have in your pocket.
Mm-hmm.
But also, you're looking at the prices changing, and you kind of become aware of which stores are best at actually updating with it. So maybe you
Mm-hmm.
might get a little bit of a savings by going to this one shop that hasn't really kept up with it as much. I definitely think that could be a thing. Um, trying to trying to find a sale, I guess, in the form of a shop that hasn't really adjusted for inflation yet.
Yeah, I do find myself doing that with buying stuff with crypto these days. Is doing like arbitrage type stuff where it's not as significant. It's not like I plan out my whole year like this, but there are times when I'm like, all right, I'm gonna buy this, and then it's like, oh, I see a big old price bump here. I'm gonna do a lot of my shopping right now. And then other times it's like it goes down. I'm just like, you know what? Let's see if there's any like unused gift codes here and there from like various services I could use, or let's just see, or like,
Yeah.
oh, let's have like a friend buy it or something. Like there's the riding the kind of wave type thing. And I'm just wondering like how much toll on human productivity that gives when the average person doesn't just like buy and sell and stuff. They they have to just they can't just buy what makes economic sense to them. They have to think, wait a second, if I buy it now, is there going to be a problem? Should I just buy more of it now because I won't be able to buy as much later. It's kind of a little
Uh,
wonky.
I I don't know that the average person thinks far enough ahead to buy in bulk.
Mm-hmm.
Besides what panic buying might instill in them, um, and planning ahead for the kind of things like what is this going to cost 6 months from now, and I know
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to need this so I can stock up, but at the same time I don't know how much of this I can buy with how much I'm
Yeah.
getting in a weekly paycheck. Not to think about if you need to go into debt to uh, to save up to save a little bit in the future.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's funny because fiat has really like fiat becoming what it always was, which is not worth very much. Um, really caused me to have different kinds of thinking than I used to. Like I used to just think, spend the money you have, save it as much as you can, and debt is first off a bad idea, but also you're just going to be losing money to interest rates. So like only do it if you really need to, and then pay it off as quickly as you can. That like the whole like Dave Ramsey type idea. And
Yeah.
the only thought of going into debt in other ways was like from the investment point of view of like, okay, well, if you need to produce to get a cash producing asset, a cash flow producing asset, and then okay, then maybe instead of just blowing all your money, maybe you go into debt in order to get this that then pays you back at a higher rate than the interest rate. And then, you kind of like, it's just like an investment strategy. But for the most part, it's just like in the past, it was just live on the money you have, try to have no debt, zero, period, unless these exceptional circumstances. Now, I'm thinking like, as far as fiat denominated debt, almost seems like, I wouldn't necessarily say like a blessing, but it's like the, if let's just say you have a 5-year loan on something, if the interest rate is below the inflation rate, that's sort of, you kind of want to stretch that out as long as you can. And if you have crypto, which is going to be the valuable now, or it's going to go up even, then the mindset starts to be, oh, well, if I owe fiat things, let me just stretch that out because why am I going to blow my valuable money on just something when, I'm kind of owing less and less in purchasing power over time. So, which obviously it's a risky game in case you go bust,
Well,
but
I
it's
mean,
still kind of worth thinking of.
that's what's caused the boom and bust cycle in the housing market
Mm-hmm.
is these low interest loans that allow people to get large large things like houses and pay them off gradually over time
Mm-hmm.
and not really think so much about the long term consequences of what that does to the market.
Yeah. And so, like, the long term consequence is, of course, you get off the system that doesn't work and onto a system that does work, which is kind of what the whole
Yeah.
world's doing right now. Which it's also kind of funny to see like all like the ThorFi type stuff that ThorChain is doing with like zero interest loans and all that interesting stuff. And I'm kind of excited on a different note for the kind of financial system of the future and the potential that will, unleash. But yeah, it's probably a good time to wrap this up. Let me just see if there's a live chat question I haven't gotten to. So, any opinion on
Yeah.
UST and the negatives with US regulators in case they release a centralized stablecoin? So, those are two separate questions. I have a generally positive view on UST or Terra Luna's stablecoin. I don't know a ton about it. I know kind of how the mechanism works, and I know that that Terra has. I know that they bought a ton of Bitcoin as like an extra stopgap behind that, which doesn't sound entirely decentralized, but whatever. It's a valuable tool for people looking to hedge their crypto stuff and as well as do some like enhanced fiat financial stuff. But at the same time, I'm also very like printing fiat. Like I can't see how the U.S. government won't find a way, and they seem to care. The big things they care about don't seem to be crypto as much or who's spending, and I mean a little bit. Big things they care about are stablecoins and DeFi. DeFi because all the old financial system is going to be completely destroyed by that, and more importantly, they have a lot of money they want to make off of that. But also stablecoins because it's like, well, Bitcoin's volatile, whatever. But then when you're kind of making a better fiat currency, that's really dangerous to them because it just lets people kind of at a much lower risk level to them kind of jump out of that stuff. So I kind of am wondering what global regulation around stablecoins are they going to be considered counterfeit? I mean, I don't know.
Well, they want to have a monopoly on money printing and theft.
Oh.
And moving to crypto takes away the power for them to be able to print endlessly and start wars and just do all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
But I'm definitely also interested in what Terra Luna is doing, as well as
Mm-hmm.
ThorFi. I read the paper that they posted. Um, Seems really interesting. I'll say that I wasn't able to capitalize as much on the highs of the market last
Mm-hmm.
year, but it's something, if you're trying to live on crypto long term, you definitely have to figure out a way to lock in some of your profits and make interest, and especially with increasing encroachments on banking and the evaporating interest rate that you get by putting your money in a traditional savings account, it's really a no-brainer
Mm-hmm.
to branch away from banks banks as time goes on.
Yeah. Um, let me just hit. Let's just wrap up on this super chat from. I don't know why it says anonymous here, but it's from the Bitcoin Cash podcast. Thoughts
Hey,
from each on the Bitcoin 2022 conference. Um, well, let me give my thoughts because there's not a lot of them. I didn't go. I'm clearly not there. I have a friend, Mark Mason, who's over there right now, and he's mostly cranking away at like deals and stuff, like networking and stuff with other businesses. But as far as like what I've seen, I haven't paid a ton of attention. Let's be honest. I hear that there's a lot of attention on Ethereum and stablecoins, even though it's like you can't talk about that stuff there. It seems like the fact that you can't really spend crypto around the conference while they're unveiling this like the Wall Street bull that's like the mechanical bull but has no balls, which is kind of very fitting. It seems like I'm kind of half and half on this. On the one part, the size of like the coverage of it outside of the crypto world seems, and well, the Miami mayor involved and everything like that. It's great. It's a great barometer to see that this is where the world is going. The world is going towards crypto.
yeah,
And so that's great. On the other side, to me, it kind of underscores how sort of limited and precarious the Bitcoin maximalist number one spot seems to be. It seems like they still got the bigger spotlight, but most of what is happening seems to be outside of the Bitcoin ecosystem now, the Bitcoin explicit ecosystem. So most of it is happening outside of that, but the attention, it's like one of the last seasons you still see it on Bitcoin, like where people actually will go to a Bitcoin conference as the number one crypto conference. But I think that's kind of like, I don't know, it's kind of going away. The fact that you have to start banning people from talking about other coins because that's literally all people want to talk about right now is kind of a little bit telling, if you ask me. I don't know if you have any what your take is on that whole thing.
um, I I very loosely saw some of the tweets around the Bitcoin conference.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't get to watch any of the videos with that,
Yeah.
but I definitely agree that it's becoming harder for them to control the narrative and uh, pretend that Bitcoin is the only coin that's important.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Especially with, I mean, there's so many exciting things happening with all these
Mm-hmm.
different blockchains, and one of the things I enjoy is just trying different projects out and learning about them and seeing how I can implement them in my life. And I just don't. It just seems like it's so difficult to use BTC as money. You have to use all these other layers and
Mm-hmm.
um, services to try to make it work as it's intended. Where at the same time you have other cryptocurrencies that actually are electronic cash or digital cash, and um, I think that's going to be more of an important focus, as well as stuff that's happening with DeFi and um, other blockchains that they're kind of picking up the reins from what ETH has been doing in the past.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, I don't see it going away, but I definitely see that it's going to be playing a smaller role as time goes on. And it is amusing that the mayor of Miami is so pro Bitcoin, but at the same time, he hasn't really done a lot to actually implement that into the daily life of people that live in Miami, even just
Hmm.
steps away from the conference.
He wants investment. It's clear, but that's fine. Nothing wrong with what he's doing.
Right. I
Everyone.
mean, that's the same thing I saw in El Salvador as well when I was there.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. That's what I mean, people. That's what I love about money because um, money is a vehicle of communication, and it is the most honest vehicle of communication out there because it's what people value. It's just like because you can lie. You know, I can just lie to you and just say, "Oh, I think this is important." But what I pay for, what I communicate value to, I can't really lie on that because then you go broke lying. Like people don't do that. They don't really spend money on stuff they don't value unless they're like forced to or whatever. And so,
Yeah.
um, yeah, it's pretty crazy how like when people talk about like everyone's using it there, and it's just like, no, he's trying to get people to bring him money, you know, and then not through a bunch of transactions, people using it in the businesses, and no, it just they want investment in
Yeah.
El Salvador. They want investment into Miami, and there's nothing wrong with any of those things. Before anyone gets all like on top of me for that and stuff, but
Yeah. I
um,
mean, it's part investment, it's part decoupling and getting out from under the paw of the United States and their
mhm,
hegemony. Um, yeah. I mean, I think they're both valuable. It's definitely it's got a long way to go. There's not really a great country to have implemented Bitcoin
mhm,
as a legal tender, but it's important that it was happening, and I hope that
mhm.
countries will actually follow through and implement um, voluntary solutions to this, and not have them be top down but bottom up.
Absolutely agreed. This seems like a great place to wrap this up. Show your stuff. Where can people find you, follow you, all the other work you do, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, so I have a channel on Odysee and YouTube. And my whole thing is I travel on crypto. So I've been traveling around the world for a year now. I've been in Colombia, Ecuador, Georgia, Armenia, Lebanon, Turkey, Mexico, El Salvador, and really just both enjoying these places for their tourism value as well as trying to spend cryptocurrency wherever I can, whether it be through hotels, for flights, for car rentals, for activities, all these different things. I use a number of different tools to accomplish that.
Mm-hmm.
You can see all of my links as well as my crypto wallets also on Cointree at cointr.ee/nudge. And I am producing some videos uh, in New Hampshire right now, and I'm going
Mm-hmm.
to be going to Europe for a couple months to be doing some more work and on the ground to meet with merchants and crypto and libertarian people and just make some content about that.
Cool. Well, thanks very much for being on. Everyone, thanks for watching. Make sure to go follow the Nudge on his stuff. Um, and yeah, throw him some coin on his coin tree. And yeah, definitely follow his travels around. My heavy travel days are probably behind me, and so I will have to all live vicariously through him. And if there's any hype, here's the thing. Here's my challenge to you. If there's any like hype ridden city, country, whatever that people are saying, oh, yeah, the crypto scene, it's all over here. Send the Nudge a Cointree chat and just say, hey, I want you to go here. What do you think about that? And then you get the actual report on what's going on there. So that's just my challenge to you. I mean, I'm not making promises on your behalf. I'm sure you'll add it to the
Yeah.
list of places you want to go to. But yeah, why don't you guys do that?
Well, I mean, this is something that I could be doing for years to come because it's not
Mm-hmm.
slowing down with these different countries getting into crypto.
Yeah.
And I hope at some point you'll be able to join me and see some of the work you've been doing to spread the crypto gospel being being put into place outside of free state of New Hampshire.
Yeah. That would be definitely nice to see. All right, guys. Well, thanks for watching, everyone. I got the Dash podcast coming up in just a few minutes, but if you're not watching that or whatever, like, comment, share, subscribe, all the good stuff. And yeah, I will see you either in a few minutes or next week on the rundown. Bye bye, everyone.